Hi, and welcome to Building a Social Media Sales Funnel. I'm Dante. It's definitely morning everywhere where this particular course is going to happen. So thank you for joining me in Western Australia, Northern Territory, and the Queensland as well. We'll be going through a whole bunch of ways that you can really get the most out of building a sales funnel around, particularly Facebook and Instagram, and what that actually means and what it looks like in the system itself. So we won't actually be doing a lot of PowerPoint presentation here. This is going to be a very live thing. We're going to go actually into the Facebook ads platform and see how that all works, so you can get the, I guess, maximum sort of effect of where the Facebook ads platform does the sales funnel, how that sales funnel works, and how you can do it in your own ads account as well. So I'll be working in a very live account, doing a very real example of how this all works. This is brought to you by the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program in conjunction with Business Station in WA, Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory, the Regional Development Australia in Queensland, and of course myself from Facebook Australia. My name's Dante. I'm with the Boost with Facebook Australia program. Facebook contract me to deliver all sorts of training to business groups, not-for-profits, all that sort of thing, to help them get the most out of using the Facebook family of apps, whether it's for advertising, for posting, organic or paid growth, whatever it is they're after. They send me out to all sorts of places around Australia to do that, including online. I've got lots of certifications and partnerships. I won't bore you with all that right now. What we'll get on with, though, is what we're going to cover today, which is what a sales funnel actually is, what a simple sales funnel kind of looks like. We're going to look at the 3 stages, or there's many other parts of a sales funnel depending on how complicated you want to make it. But the simplest sales funnel for small business is usually 3 stages: top, middle, and a bottom of that funnel. And we're going to have a look at designing a few ideas of basic sales funnels with the attendees on here today. So I can see G, Kim, Paul, and Sharon so far who are joining us. There's more dropping in every couple of minutes. So thank you for joining us live. You can ask questions in the Zoom webinar chat, as well as asking in the Q&A, and I'll answer those live for you. So feel free to put those questions in. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, put the questions in the comments below and we'll be able to answer those as soon as we can possibly get to them. So this is when we have a look at what you've actually done in Facebook and Instagram ads so far. Now, a lot of people have done the boost, putting the boost button, making sure you've got a good post that you're able to then boost beyond it for 10, 20, 50 bucks, whatever it is, for a certain period of time. Now, the limitations of the boost button is that there isn't the availability to do things like retargeting. It doesn't use the campaign budget optimization level of Facebook's ads platform, which is a lot more of the AI and trying to work out what works best and in what order, and getting the right consumer and customers for you to come into your particular sales process. The ads platform, though, contains the full power of Facebook and Instagram's full advertising service. It's got all the AI that gathers people based upon a count of the first 50, say, people who come in to have some sort of interaction with your ad. So if you've got something which is trying to get traffic, you get 50 points of traffic, 50 people clicking on going to your website, then that tells the algorithm what the kind of person is you're really looking for, and it really tightly targets that. So if you're trying to do this through boosts, you're actually missing out on the majority of the power of the platform. And when it comes to building a sales funnel, this is when these kind of platforms come into their own, whether you're using Google or LinkedIn or Facebook, all really excellent platforms. The true power comes in the ability to be able to do a first step, make your learnings from that first step to develop what the second step of the process is, using the learnings from that second step to develop that third process. And that's what we mean by the top, middle, and the bottom of the funnel. Some of you may have used the ads platform before, so apologies if I'm over explaining something that's really simple. For those of you who are not that familiar with it, we do have a whole bunch of information to come that gives you a bit more of an idea of what those individual parts are. So first of all, what exactly is a sales funnel? Now, it's one of these very kind of newfangled terms. I'll just sound like my grandmother then. New terms that's come up in the last, say, 5 years, which describes the process of what is essentially the customer journey. We're talking about the customer's journey from being completely unaware of you right through to becoming a paid customer. Now, it's called a sales funnel largely because it's like a whole bunch of people drop into the top of the funnel, And as you go further down the funnel, only certain people drop down to the next stage, and then only certain people drop down to that final stage. There are many different models of sales funnel. If you've ever used something like ClickFunnels, if you've ever used something like even MailChimp has a sort of marketing automation program in it, or use those email marketing automation programs like ActiveCampaign, or there's like dozens of them. You would understand that funnels can be a very long process of 17 or more steps, or they can be just as simple as having 3 steps. What we're looking at here is not the marketing automation that comes with email programs. We're looking at the advertising side that leads people to clicks through the website, conversions on websites, bookings on websites, delivery of lead forms through the Facebook platform, that kind of thing. And depending on where you are at in that customer journey, or where your customer is at in the journey towards you, is where they'll sit on that part of the funnel. So this is the basic sales funnel turned on its side. So you imagine that would be vertical, it'd go down like that. But this one's going from left to right, starting off with the awareness stage, moving on to what we call a consideration stage, and finally the conversion stage. Now, ultimately, we'd like to be able to jump straight to conversion. The problem is that 92% of your customers who are potential customers don't know who you are, don't know that they're actually looking for what you're doing, and are very much not going to be in that position where they're ready to buy right now. Now, there are some exceptions to that, where you might have, might have a fast-moving consumer goods. So something that's very low cost, very low value, like the little ring light I've got there on the top of my camera. It cost me like $5 to have delivered. That kind of stuff. They didn't have to take me through a process of being nurtured to buy that. But if I was selling something like a $3,500 coaching course, if I was selling something like a piece of Apple hardware, there's no way I'm going to sink that $2,500 to $3,000 just on an impulse or on a whim. Yes, there are some people out there who will shop like that, but they are less than 1% of the population. In fact, they're less than 1% of 1% of the population. So it needs us as small businesses to have to do a little bit of work on getting people nurtured through that process. So let's look at each one of those stages. The top of the funnel is what we call awareness, and that's probably where someone doesn't even know who you are. They certainly don't know what it is you're selling or what you're doing, and they don't know that they can trust you. They probably wouldn't notice that you even exist as a store in the street or a store online until they needed you. So when they do go to need you, they're going to get into that position where they go, okay, I'm searching for people who do this service or sell this thing. And at that point, they come into what we call the consideration stage. At this top of the funnel, the kind of ads you'd be running are quite general. What you're looking for is to generate interest. This is brand awareness. If you really want to look at the very big picture of what it is, letting people know who you are and what you do in such a way that they may require you later on. Now, this stage of the funnel, very few people are going to buy from you because they're just simply not ready for it. So, number one, because they probably have no desire for what it is you do. And then secondly, they don't know who you are and whether to trust you. Now, yes, there are those impulse purchases that will happen. If you sell a fast moving consumer good, or you run events and you're selling ticketing for something, that doesn't need so much of the fast moving funnel. But if you're selling something of higher value that takes longer to work people through, this top of the funnel awareness stage is what's really helpful in letting people know who you are and what you do well before they're ready to actually buy from you. So it's where your lead time is quite long. Sometimes buying a car, for instance, or buying a home if you're a real estate agent, is not a decision that's made at the spur of the moment. It takes a little bit of bringing towards a point where you are more ready and more willing to have a conversation at least. And that brings us to the second bit, the middle of the funnel, where people are going into the consideration stage. And I call it consideration because they now know who you are. They also know who your competitors are. They now know what you do. They also know what your competitors do, but they haven't yet made that solid decision to go for gold. They haven't said, I'm going to do this thing. They're in that place where they're deciding whether you line up against everyone else who does what you do, your services lined up against the services of all your competitors makes sense to them. They could be price sensitive shoppers, so they're looking to compare you price wise. So if you don't provide pricing on your website or Facebook page, you may drop out of that consideration. But if they're not necessarily price sensitive, and it's about 72% of shoppers are price sensitive. If they're not the price sensitive, then so 78, 22% are non-price sensitive shoppers. If they're one of those, and that's pretty much who all of us want, is someone who's going to buy based on quality, reputation, and the value or the merit of the product or service you're providing. So at this stage, you're lining up against everybody else in terms of price, the quality of your service, the reputation of your brand, the availability of your products or services, and whether you just appeal to them in general. Not everyone's going to appeal to everybody. If you're a coach doing a coaching service and your primary people are women, then it's much less likely the guy would be able to push into that realm, because women will tend to, in the coaching field, they tend to naturally veer towards other women who they feel safe and comfortable and have some sort of level of trust with. Likewise, you'll get the opposite when it comes to someone who is, say, a 45-year-old man and he's looking for a coaching service. He'll tend to go for someone who's a guy. So if you're not a guy, you may drop out of that consideration. Now, certain things at the consideration stage can make a difference to keep you in that journey of theirs, which is quite something. If you've got something that appeals to people, if you've got accreditations, if you're wearing a logo, for instance, that may appeal to someone, if you've got a certain mix of products or a payment plan, Afterpay, if you're using high value physical products, is a very valuable thing that can jump you to the top of the consideration pile against your competitors, because you've got something that others don't have that's very important to shoppers today. And Afterpay and ZipPay are very, very important factors when it comes to shopping for higher value consumer goods. But for services, it might be a completely different story. It could be all about who you are in your brand. And that's what you took care of in the previous level of the funnel. At the top of the funnel, you were building that familiarity, that trust factor. When I first started my digital agency, I didn't really get a lot of customers for the first 6 or 7 weeks, because nobody really understood who I was. But I ran some television ads, which was a very expensive and very risky step to take. But what it did is, when I actually went to meet people in networking, when I went to meet people in one-to-one meetings, they knew who I was and what I did because they'd seen it on TV. So it was a worthwhile investment at that top of the funnel to get to the middle of the funnel, where I was being considered against my competitors. And then I moved on to what is then the bottom of the funnel. This is the pointing in that everyone wants to get to. This is where you are actively, a customer is actively looking to buy, or at least inquire about your services, or buy directly from a website. Now, these people pretty much know who you are by now. They've seen your brand, they've seen your products, they've seen your services. They've kind of moved beyond that. They're very, very keen on what you're doing. They just kind of need that one last push over. Now, some sales funnels may go straight from top of the funnel to the bottom, or go from the middle to the bottom. It depends on where your customer's journey is at. The whole idea of producing a sales funnel in something like the Facebook family of apps is to go, well, I'm not just running one campaign at one level. I might run 3 campaigns or more to go at those different levels of where people are at. If they don't know who I am, they find out who I am. If they're starting the process of shopping around, I'm in that consideration part, and so I can deliver an ad that answers that as well. And then when they're in a hot to shop mode, this is particularly valuable when you're in areas of high traffic. You've got a physical shop front. Say, for instance, if you've got a shop at Garden City in Perth, or Casuarina Square in Darwin, or Indooroopilly Shopping Centre in Brisbane, where you've got quite a few thousand people in one place at one time, it is possible for you to advertise that specific location, or that specific suburb at least, because let's face it, there's not much else in Indooroopilly or Casuarina or Garden City or in Kotara in Perth that is going to be getting that much attention or that much of a draw of people. So you can actually get people, and they're hot to trot and hot to sale. And we saw a lot of that if you happen to go to the Black Friday sales on the weekend in large major shopping centers. If you had pulled out your phone and started flicking through Facebook or Instagram, you would have seen lots of hyper-targeted last-minute Black Friday deals in the shopping center where you actually were. And that's what we call going directly to the bottom of the funnel. And a lot of brands can afford to do that have names already. If they've got a brand that's very, very well recognized and they've got a shop front in the shopping center, they may be able to go straight to that bottom of the funnel. I'm assuming, though, that you probably don't have that. So what you do at the top of the funnel, here's an example of some ads that I ran probably a little bit earlier this year, or no, sorry, about middle of last year actually, is that very, very simple message, very, very high impact, attention grabbing graphic. And it's all about educational. So in this, I've said, there's a whole lot of bull going around when it comes to social media. So get the facts. And I had a landing page where you could go and learn more about it. So you could learn more about the facts of social media before you commit to actually buying social media. On that landing page, I did not have a direct, hey, send an inquiry now for it. Because all I was wanting to do is get the name out there so they see it enough, get that logo out there so they see that enough, and they get used to getting some level of advice from that particular entity, from that particular brand. The same with the second one with the dog. It's a cute photo of a dog looking confused, and that's always going to get someone's attention. Not many people don't like dogs. So what it's saying is like, well, it's saying that web designers aren't Google experts. It's quite a controversial statement. So how can you spend all this money on a website and still not be showing up on Google, which is a common cry from people who've just had a website done, saying, well, I've done all this, but why am I not able to be found on Google? So this was another educational article which explained why web designers aren't SEO people and why you may need a separate service for this. But I wasn't necessarily saying, hey, we'll do it for you. I'm still at that level of saying, here's a few questions to ask your web designer before you start signing up for that contract. Now, I wasn't looking to generate sales at this level. This is my top of funnel. I was looking to generate inquiries, or at least a page view of that particular article. And it worked its butt off. I had a lot of inquiries in Western and Central Queensland from this, and also in regional Western Australia. So it worked really well in those areas because I wasn't up against that many competitors in those areas. In the middle of the funnel, I ran similar high attention grabbing kind of ads that made you go, you know, WTF, what is that photo of? And it was speaking directly to a little bit of humor. People who have seen this brand around a little bit, they've seen this kind of photo around a little bit, and a very, very short, sharp message. And it's saying that, you know, we know you've already looking, you've already been approached by people who are social media managers, or you don't want to have to do that cringeworthy stuff in your social media feed that a lot of social media managers make you want to do. So here's the answer to that. It's further information that then has a call to action. So in the ad, it's that learn more about accredited Facebook digital marketing associates or accredited specialists in a particular area, rather than just froth and bubble and Instagram pods, if you even know what that is. So the idea was to feed even more information, but to give at that particular landing page that they went to, they had not just the information, but if you'd like help with this, we've got a plan that can help you. Contact us now, or click here to see more details on the packages that are available. Now, we may get some sales from this level, but that ultimately wasn't really the point of where we wanted the sales. Where we wanted the sales was down this end. What we do at the bottom of the funnel. The bottom of the funnel was where people are already in that process of buying, and they're really past the consideration. I want to get them when they're actually at the point of considering someone else, and I'll be able to deliver something to them. So these are people who have seen the first ad. They may have clicked to the website. I've retargeted them again with a bottom of the funnel ad says, look, we know you've read this. We know you've seen our second article. We know that you've been presented with what our offer is. Now we're going to try and give you something more and say, if you act today from this ad, you'll get an additional 10, 15% off our regular quote for that service, or something like that, that gets them beyond that. They've been presented the offer, they've received the information about why they need to act, and they know who we are. Now we need to give them an incentive at this bottom of the funnel to go forward with it. And this is quite often what you'll see when you go and put things into carts. You do a bit of shopping and you drop out of the cart. Next thing you know, you've got a Facebook ad reminding you that you had something in a cart and you may want to add this to it, and why not check out and get an extra 10% off. A lot of fashion retailers online will do it. ASOS does it. The Iconic does it. A lot of those online shopping portals on Shopify will do that. They'll actually present something in front of you as a Facebook ad and offer you some kind of offer, either via email or via a Facebook or Instagram ad. More often than not these days, it's actually coming through Facebook and Instagram ads. Sorry, I just had something in my mouth that was just really annoying me and making me speak funny. So what you would do at the bottom of the sales funnel is incentivize that next step to go over the edge and do something like book now, buy now, excuse me, do now, be now, anything that's going to kick them over to that very final stage. Mental note, don't eat a muesli bar before you go on a webinar. Things get caught in your throat. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to open up to you to put it into the chat window, what your kind of business is. So if you are on this call, let me know what your kind of business is. And I'm going to suggest some ideas for the design of sales funnels that will work, or at least get you some ideas on how to design something that's going to work for you. So Kim says the coaching, consulting, and online programs. That's probably one of the most common things that really works with sales funnel, because it's a high value, but long lead time decision-making ideas. So in Kim's case, we look at something like, for instance, the top of the funnel would be why people need help when it comes to business coaching or digital coaching or whatever it is, what kind of coaching you're doing. So to say at the top of the funnel, people, 2 out of 3 businesses are glad they went with a business consultant. Find out why. And that could be something which then leads to a website and a page where you've got a story about a case study, but less salesy than that. It's going to be very much educational. So it'll be things like, for instance, if you're a consultant in the area of business coaching and mindset mentoring, that sort of thing, you might go, okay, here is an introduction to what mindset mentoring is. Here's why your mindset and challenging your pre-existing beliefs is a great way of getting you positioned for success in a business. And it'd be an article that's very easy to read, but what we call pixels them. The Facebook pixel is installed in your website, and then it pings that to say this person had an interest. We know that they're interested. So what you're going to do is within 24 hours, deliver them a second message. Now, whether or not they've actually filled out the details on your website from that first visit, we want to make sure that they have that second message coming through to them. So what that might be is something which is, we know you're looking for the best possible advice and guidance when it comes to growing your business. So what we're doing is giving you an opportunity to have a free half-hour consultation, something like that. That might be your second step, where they can click on a thing and go, okay, go to a Calendly link or some kind of booking link on your website to be able to book your time in. Or it could even be a link to your booking through Facebook, any sort of calendar, anything like that, you can link to that. And that could be your second level. So it's very much a more direct call to action. The first one is a call to action to learn more about the ideas that you bring through. Second is going, I actually do this stuff. Check out what I do and how much it is. At the third level, where you've seen that they've not only had fired off the pixel on your website, but they've come back a second time and fired off a pixel on a particular page of your website, you say, I will retarget those people even harder now and go, you're just one step away from success for your business. So it's a lot more, they know who you are. They know they've hit your website before. They're almost expecting, we almost expect it, don't we? Go to a website, we know we're going to be, given Facebook ads from that particular place. So they know they're going to get it. So then it's up to you to make a very compelling argument to say, okay, you can get your half an hour free, but what we'll also like to do is give you this free report on the top 10 things that make a big difference in business. Through that, you're able to deliver a lot more marketing messages about, do your NLP work and show why people, how to really, really lead people to the kind of decision you want them to make. So that kind of sales process is very, very, very well defined for coaching. You start off with a little bit of information and education, moving on to, I do this stuff, and here's a bit more information, to finally, I know you're interested in what we're doing, you just need this one incentive. My incentive is free half an hour and a download of an ebook. You can swap some of those things around. The ebook may be something you deliver a little earlier in the funnel, and then later in the funnel, you get them to book that free thing. Or if they've already booked that free thing, you can within 28 days, or actually within 7 days now, it used to be a 28-day attribution, now 7 days. Within 7 days of booking that half an hour with you, you can deliver a new message to them, which says, thank you for booking that half an hour. Did you know we also do online courses and programs? Here's a link to get you started with a 10% discount, something like that. KDO has got electric rideshare scooters. I use those things in Darwin, where I live, almost on a daily basis. I live in the CBD of Darwin. I go on the Neuron scooters from where I live to any sort of appointments I've got around the CBD. It's a lot of fun. So in this kind of thing, getting someone used to that idea of using it could very much be a sales funnel, which says, okay, so it starts off with, here's the benefits of getting around in summer when it's really hot and not. You deliver something like this very much beneficial about why someone would use these, or what is the benefit of using an electric rideshare scooter. So you start with something very, very general. It could be even information about how electric rideshare scooters work. Something that's just so general that have someone go, huh, that's really interesting. I did not know that. Once they've hit your website where they've got that piece of information, or even better, start off at the top of the funnel with an actual video ad. And the video ad can be a minute long and feature, that these things are amazing. They're actually helping save the environment because we're taking less Uber rides. Getting outside and getting some sunshine, which is great, for getting your vitamin A. I don't know what the benefits are, to be honest. That's part of your marketing message. But saying basically at the very beginning, informing people that this is a thing and that it's cool, providing that coolness factor. If they'd like to know more, learn more, click on the button and go to do something. Now, some people will sign up straight away, or they may download an app if you're managing it through an app like Neuron does, or like Lime, or any of those other ride share scooters and bikes kind of situations. Then of course you can go down to that next step, which is then going, well, we know you're interested in it. We know you've got the app, but we know you may not have used it. So here's a reminder of why you should use it. If you want to use it now, bear in mind that we now have your first ride free, or enter your details into the app and you'll get a 10% discount on your first ride, or some kind of incentive that works like that. And once you've got people in it, when you're doing a service that's very, very specific and niche like yours is, you'd have something then that you've got the ability to go, well, we know that people have visited in the last 365 days this particular website or app. We want to hit them up and remind them that we exist, because there's a very good chance they may not know, or they've kind of slipped off the radar again. They may have been an initial novelty user and they're going, oh, I don't really see this as an everyday part of my living. So with any time within that 365 days, you can retarget people who visited your website or your app to say, hey, we're still here, and guess what? We've just upgraded our scooters, or here's our COVID plan for making sure our scooters are nice and clean. Here's what you can do to ensure that you keep yourself safe by carrying some wipes on you, sanitizing your hands, so every time you touch something, you're protected like that. So there you got that 3-stage as well, letting people know you exist, retargeting people who have just signed on for you to incentivize them to take that first, second, or third ride. And then finally, reaching out to people much further down the track to say, hey, we know you signed up for this a long time ago. Here's a reason why you should get back on the scooters again. So it's actually quite an easy one to design a 3-stage funnel out of. Now, I can't do everybody's stuff. I'll just pick things out as I can. A small 5-star accredited bed and breakfast is probably a really good opportunity, because you have the most beautiful opportunity to do such a visual thing in a video, particularly a video ad. I'll be starting off with a video ad at the beginning and just going, here is our property. Here's the wonderful things of it. Now, quite often hotels and resorts do get caught on this trap of taking photos of their buildings. And the buildings aren't really the part that most people see. It's going to be the beds, the bathrooms, the luxury, the unique aspects, the quaintness of the cottage, the gardens, surrounds, places where they'll spend their time. Not necessarily looking at the building. They might take a selfie in front of it maybe, but realistically, they want to know that that bed is bloody comfortable. That bathroom is luxurious. The products you're putting in there are gorgeous as well. So you can do that by creating a video that highlights all those wonderful aspects of it and having a very, very clear message. If your message is tied up in, oh, we're just 2.5 hours from this, or we're just down the road from there, and you're constantly comparing what you're close to rather than what your actual property's values are all of its own. So it's like, our breakfasts are beautiful and organic and locally sourced. Those kind of things are really important to get across. Now, once someone has expressed an interest by watching at least 15 seconds of the video, you would want to retarget those people and say, okay, we know you're interested. Great. did you know that we have off-season specials from this much between this date and this date? People don't visit us in June because that's not the peak season in our particular part of the world, but it's the peak season elsewhere. So if you visit us in June, you'll have a free breakfast included every day with your stay with us, which gives people an extra incentive. Now, you've got the same issue there as the rideshare scooters guys, because you can then also start to build a longer term remarketing strategy. And that would say that, okay, you've been interested, you've gone and checked out our stuff, you may or may not have booked, but within that 365-day realm, you can say, well, there's a good chance you might want to go on another break. Everyone likes to have a weekend away. So you can retarget people who have booked with you or have added to cart, or have just even visited your website at all, and say, I want to retarget those people within a certain amount of time. And you can go up to 365 days, but I would say probably half a year, 6 months is probably a really good one, because it'd be nice if you can get some repeat people in there every quarter or every 6 months in at least. Every year is probably realistic, but every 6 months is pretty realistic too, if they've really developed a love for what it is you do and where you are. So I'm sorry I can't do everybody's design sales funnel, but you're getting the idea that it just takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of a mind to go, okay, so I'm not just putting one ad out there. I'm actually going to 3 stages of ads. What we're going to do now, though, I'm going to flip over to a live installation of WordPress, not WordPress, in Facebook. That's the one I'm looking for. Now, I'm hoping you can actually see this. I'm pretty sure you can, because I shared the entire screen. So this is one of my accounts for Facebook. If I go down into the ads section over on the left, that's going to take me into the Facebook ads platform. And in here, I've got connections through to a lot of different campaigns that I'm working for. This one was a draft one. I might try and do something through another account. So let's see if I can do something through something that's similar to what someone does here. Let me see. I might try and do this within. Let's try a electrical. Yeah, we'll try something electrical. So I don't know if we've got any electricians or any people who are here for a tradie, but this, I guess, is one of those ones where it is actually quite difficult to do tradie stuff, because tradies generally things you don't need until you really need them. But what you can do is do a lot of branding work in the front. So this is a Darwin-based company called NC Electrical and Air Conditioning. Now, if I go to create a new campaign here, it gives me the option then to create one of those 3 areas. And this is where the sales funnel comes in. The awareness stage gives me a couple of variations called brand awareness and reach. The consideration stage gives me those video views, traffic, engagement, that kind of stuff, messages. These are the end product, what you want as a result of this particular part of your campaigns. And then conversion is very pointy, and that's like people who bought things or clicked on something that you said they wanted to click on, or they've bought something from your catalog, or they've actually come to your store. Little bits of information there beside it show you that they're going to put those ads in front of people who are likely to remember the details of that ad. Or reach is where you're showing your ads to the maximum number of people, but they may not necessarily be high quality people. It's just the maximum amount of people. Reach is kind of like a TV or a radio ad. It's just putting it out there to as many people as you possibly can put it in front of to get that message out as far as you possibly can get it. Your consideration for traffic is getting people through to something like your website, your app, an event, or a messenger conversation, although messages down here is actually a lot more likely for people who are very much engaged messenger people. They are very likely to click on the send message button. Lead generation produces a little lead generation form that's within Facebook. So it doesn't go to your website. It can connect up to your customer relationship management system though. One of my favorite though is video views. This is for people who are very likely to watch videos. The beauty of video views is that it allows you to be able to retarget people based upon how much of the video they watched or whether they watched it even at all. So it's a very valuable one for getting people from this stage to a buying stage, because you can very easily retarget video views. You can't really retarget people who are reached or who have a brand awareness of your brand. You can retarget people who have visited your website in a traffic ad. You can retarget people who have engaged with your posts or with your ad through likes, shares, reacts, and comments. And you can also retarget people who've installed an app. But my prime one is video views. If you can produce a nice attention-grabbing video, that's really easy to be able to retarget people who've done something with that video. So for the sake of this particular experiment, I'm going to start off with someone who's I just want to reach as many people as I possibly can. And the reason why I want to reach them like this is because I want to get the brand out there. I want people to recognize what it is so that when they come back and get that second level of ad, they will recognize who we are. And I've kind of cut through that breaking of the ice with them. I'm not a great mystery to them. I make sense to them. An example would be, for instance, I've been part of a sales funnel for a microphone company who sells little lapel microphones for about 6 months now. And they're just relentless. They're constantly delivering me retargeted ads to get me to buy that microphone. Now with their Black Friday sales, they've just actually reduced that down quite a lot, although $135 US is far from the $99 Australian that they were quoting, because they didn't manage to quote in the fact that there's a considerable cost to shipping. So, but that's an example of, they reached me with a reach ad because they went, okay, let's just reach everybody who's got an interest in something like being a content creator or being a audio producer, which are things that I do on the side. They reached me through that. They then retargeted me once I hit their website through a traffic ad. And they said, okay, now we know you've been on our website. We know that you're definitely interested in what we do. We're going to retarget you again in the hope that you will convert. Now, there's 6 months of funnel this afternoon, once I get off this call, will result on me actually making that sale. They are the perfect example of a funnel that actually worked with me. They actually reached out with a reach ad. I eventually then went to click because they saw that I clicked on a link to see more about this product. That triggered a pixel on Facebook, which then triggered another sales funnel that said, okay, you've been to our site, you've watched this video, we know you're engaged, we know you're interested. We're just going to keep sending through things until we get our result, which today, 6 months later, will be the conversion, because they've got a Black Friday sale on at the moment, which reduces the cost of that to about 30% off, which is worth me taking a look at. So for the reach ad, we're just going to click continue. And this is where we're going to create this new campaign based on a whole bunch of these ideas. So we're going to call this campaign initial reach and recognition. You might call it something else. In there, you can leave the auction and the campaign, all that stuff, just leave it as it is. We're not doing an A/B test at this stage. That's quite advanced stuff that you don't really need to know right now. We're going to then do this campaign budget optimization. Now, we always leave this on because this is a way of saying no matter how many ads or sets of different audiences I put underneath this campaign, they'll all compete against each other. So if I've got one set, which is women between 25 and 39 and men from 45 to 55, those different targets will compete with each other for the ad spend. So if it finds that the women between 25 and 39 are looking way more interested in what these ads are, really replying to this call for messages, or they seem to be the people who are viewing this the most, then it will continue to send that particular target more of this and take a lot more away from those areas or those targets that aren't doing so well. So now we come down past this, we want to give either a daily budget of $25 a day. You can do $10 a day, $5 a day, whatever you like. Remembering that the more you spend doesn't necessarily mean the more people you're going to get to. It'll depend on how you target who it is you want to send it to. So I'm just going to do an actual lifetime budget here. I'm going to say I'm going to spend a total of $300 over a period of time. Now, the question you'll have is, well, how much do I spend? What's realistic to spend? That's going to be all down to what you're able to and what the value of your stuff is. If I look at this and go, if I'm able to spend $300 over a month and that attracts $1,200 worth of results, I've made a profit on that. Or if it's $300 in a week and I've made $3,500 in that week based on those ads, that's a really good result. That may seem like really out there for a lot of people and a lot of money, but we're dealing with sometimes with people who spend $10,000 a day, but they're getting back $25,000 a day in sales. So it's definitely worth their spend. You're a small business. You're not going to spend that much. You're going to spend maybe, 300 bucks a month, 150 bucks a month. That works out at $5 a day is $150 a month roughly. And $10 a day is roughly $300 a month. Now, depending on the city you're in or the area that you're trying to get to, this is going to vary wildly. If you're at a place like, the first tier regional markets, we're talking about the Darwins, the Mackays, Townsvilles, Cairns, maybe someone like Mandurah, Geraldton, those kind of places, then yes, you will probably need to spend about $300 a month across all of your campaigns to get some kind of reach into those places. But if you're looking at smaller places like Roma, Charleville, let's just say Warwick, Esperance, Albany, Alice Springs, those kind of places, then that's going to come down a little bit. You might find that $5 a day is quite enough. You can spend a lot less though. It just means that you're less likely to reach people when you get to a little bit too low. So if I want to spend a lifetime budget, I'm going to spend it over a month. At $300, I'm not setting what that lifetime is here yet. That's going to be in my ad set. So once I click on here and I've got that bit set, now I just need to move my computer slightly because I can't quite see the side of my screen. Get rid of all this for you. Okay, I'm going to click on next. And then now I'm going to create what is my target. So this is who I want to target my ads to. So I'm going to call this one women 25 to 39. And it's also going to be where those people are. So in this case, I'm going to go with something which matches where this particular customer is in Darwin. So I'm going to go women. I'm going to then also set this schedule. So this schedule is saying that I want to go from today, which is the 30th, through to the end of December. That sounds about right. So it's immediately picked out that's going to do this. Now, this specific time here is based on the US Pacific time, which is one silly thing that they do in Facebook. I'm not interested in California time. I'm interested in my time zone. But if you can just convert that back and make it, the equivalent of what yours is, and just typing into Google something like 1738. So 1738 Pacific time to ACST, which is my time zone. And it's telling me that makes it 11:08 a.m., which is around just about 4 minutes ago in Australian Standard Time. So you can know that that's it. So if you then go, well, I want it to end, say, 3 p.m. and in ACST time, so ACST 3 p.m. in Pacific time, you do a conversion with that. So you'd end it at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time to get that same one. That's just how you convert that. Google will do it for you. So we've got that done. Well, I'm happy with that. I'm going to set that out a bit further and say, 55 to give myself a bit of time to actually complete all this. I'm going to create my audience now, begin with to go, okay, just people in Darwin, because he only serves people in Darwin. Very local business. Now, this is the very basic stuff. So I'm going to take him out to about 80 kilometers. For you, that might appear as 25 miles to 50 miles. That's the equivalent of 40 kilometers to 80 kilometers. Might go, okay, a lot of that is ocean, doesn't really matter. He's not going to go out as far as Adelaide River. I know this region quite well. But remembering that I wanted to call this women 25 to 39, so I'll just quickly change this. 25 to 39. Now, this could be any area. You can create multiples of these different targets. It's just a way of you measuring, I guess, much easily which area works the best and which doesn't. Then I'm going to say that, oh, sorry, I need to change it to women. I can then add interests in there. Now, some of those interests I might add in there is that they're parents. Generally, parents are much more likely to use tradies because they may own their homes. So I can go, okay, all parents, or I can look at parents of particular aged kids. So I'll just go all, and then that gives me on the right the kind of people I'm looking for. So women between 25 and 39 within 80 kilometers of Darwin who are parents is down to 5,800 people. That's a pretty tight target. That's nice and defined. So down here now, I'm going to go, okay, where am I going to put my ads? Am I going to put them wherever Facebook wants to put them, or I can select manual placements? I'm going to go automatic placements for now, and then go the next step, which is making my ad. So in this ad now is where I'll do, okay, what is the image I want to use? What is the video I want to use? I would have made that elsewhere and done it elsewhere. I'm not necessarily in that position where I'm saying, okay, I want to get a result out of this. So in this one, I might just say awareness ad. I might load up, he's got an Instagram account, so I'll do that. It's going to automatically bring a bit of information across from the Facebook and Instagram page to fill out some details that you can see there on the right. I'm going to create the ad based on a single image. I can then upload my image. So I'm going to change that image over to something else, see what else he's got already in there. You can also load up new things if you want. So I'll load up this one. It looks kind of good. Position him as a local. And then I can go here when you need that aircon fixed, we're right there. Something really, really general. It doesn't need to say a lot. It doesn't need to go on about specials because you're not there yet. You're just getting people used to what it is you are and who you are. Now this is for a government grant, so that's probably the wrong image. I want to get something even more generic than that. It's just a photo of, you know, air conditioners, anything really like that. Air conditioning cleaning, there we go, that'll do. Now, I'm not going to play around with all those different placements to make it look different, but what I am going to add in, even though the point of this is not necessarily to get someone to click on it, I'm going to add a link to that website. So then we've got a button that can appear over here, a call to action button, even though that's not necessarily where I want to go. Sorry, down here, wrong spot. My headline down the bottom can be something like local Sparkies when you need them. And then I can select my call to action button. In this case, it's just going to be learn more because I'm not looking for a sale necessarily. I'm not even looking for necessarily people to click on that. I just want to recognize it, the look and feel of what we do. So it's in the back of their mind each week as they go by. We're not looking necessarily to get that click, but if they get a click, that's great too. So I can then save that particular ad that I've just done. Going, yep, I'm pretty happy with this one. So I just got my stupid Mac is doing the wrong thing here. There we go. Okay, publish. Now I don't actually want this one to go live because that's, you know, I don't want him to suddenly be paying for ads. But what I can do now is do a second level of that. Is for the few people who actually have gone and clicked on that, I'm going to create the next level. So let me get out of here. That's now in draft. I can go now my second level, which is another campaign. And what this is going to be is reaching other people who've already done stuff. So this one's not going to be initial reach and recognition. I'm going to call this retargeting. And retargeting is the process of finding, create new, sorry. I'm looking now to generate real traffic or perhaps messages for people to make inquiries. I like the idea of messages in this case. So I'm going to call this messages, continue. But I'm going to base this one on people who visited the website. So those few people who did go through a website who are already interested, I want to get those people. So how do I do that? Well, my new campaign is going to be called retargeted web visitors. Now this all assumes that you've got the Facebook pixel installed on your website. That's a bit of another story, but it's something which you can actually do as part of this. Give this daily budget of no more than $5 a day. If it finds them, it may not find that full $5. It may only spend 50 cents. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to now, instead of setting up preferences such as, people who live in this area or do that thing, I'm going to look for people who visited the website. So I'm going to call this website visitors as my ad set. The typing is a little bit scratchy today. I want them to go through to my messenger. And what I'm doing down here, yes, I'm going to set this schedule out to the end of December. Oh, sorry, the start date will be, say, the 15th, because I want to give them a couple of weeks to get used to us. Had a set end date of maybe the 15th of January. What I'm going to do now is create a new audience, a custom audience. So we've got some audiences in there. I want to create a new one, create new custom audience. And this is where I can select sources of where that audience can be. It can be people who visited my website. It can be people who've been on my app, people who specifically have been part of my email list. So I can load up my email list and it can then go, oh yes, we know that person. Or you say, I want to create a lookalike audience based upon the people who've already shopped with me, which is an extra advanced way of going. And that might be another one for another time. You get people who have viewed a certain percentage of a specific video that you've either posted or used as an ad, people who visited your Instagram account, RSVP'd for events, visited your Facebook page, any of those kind of things, or filled in a lead form. In our case, we want to retarget people who visited our website. So in here, it's saying, I'm looking for people who have visited my website in the past 30 days. If I want to tighten that down a bit more, the last 15 days, so that I know that it's people who are very recent. And I can call that then the last 15 days visitors. So I can always use this audience again later. It goes red. It's going to spend about half an hour or so working out who that audience is. Now, based on that audience, you can continue to now create an ad based on it, or you can create what's called a lookalike audience. It's like, okay, here's a profile of the people who have visited our website. Now go find me more people just like them. Now that's not really what we're trying to do. We just want to create an ad based on those who have actually visited. So now we've got that audience ready to go. We can create an ad based on that audience. That would be, say, level 2. We got their attention in here. We've now done a messages or traffic or lead generation ad, which we're retargeting to people who have visited our website. Then our final step could be, because I know I'm very aware we're running out of time now, that the final step would then be, okay, they know who we are. They've clicked on our website. We've retargeted them with a second ad, which generated another visit to the website to a very specific page, which is like a landing page to get them involved in the thing that we want them to do. And they've visited that, but they haven't necessarily converted from that. So we want to then have something else that retargets those very specific people. It may be one of them a week, but we want to retarget that very specific person with an ad that's going to lead them to the next step, which is that sale. So again, we started off by making them aware of who we were in the awareness area. Once they clicked on something, we saw that they appeared on our website. We were able to retarget them with something in here. So we chose a messages ad. Now, bearing in mind that each one of these objectives here, each one is targeted towards people who are most likely to use that particular response. So this is clickers, people who are likely to click on links to go to pages. This is for people who are likely to hit like or hit a reaction or leave a comment or share. These are people who are very likely to be people who install apps based on ads they see. People who like to view videos, people who are likely to fill out a lead generation form, and people who are likely to use the messenger option to be able to leave you a message. 2 years ago, no one would do this. Now, this is probably the most common way that we can communicate with people in Facebook Messenger. In fact, there's some stats that came out recently, which were to do with particularly millennials and Generation Z. Millennials, 60% of those will only deal with a company based upon the fact that you can message them rather than having to call them or walk into their store. In Generation Z, so under 25s, my housemate, my 20-year-old housemate's one of those, they will not deal with you at all if they have to call you. They just won't do it. That's like 99% will not deal with you unless they can contact you through something like Messenger, WhatsApp, something that they can message you direct to get the answer they want to get. So that's very, very powerful, this messages now, as a way of being able to wind that into your sales funnel. So how you would do that, we might have a little bit of time to look at a couple of those other options of what we had in here. We've got this 5-star accredited bed and breakfast property. We've got a consultant to the aviation industry. This one could be really cool because I don't really know what a consultant to the aviation industry would do. I'm suggesting that's probably something to do with gaining guests and process improvement within aviation. I'm taking a really broad guess here. So what I'd say is something like that you've got that power to be able to just going to unshare my screen here and look directly at you. You've got the ability now to be able to do something such as going for people who have a very specific interest in a very specific area. You probably also have previous customers or previous clients you've dealt with that may form part of an email list. That might help you to more successfully target people. For instance, if you've got 100 or more email addresses for people in your industry or people you've dealt with before or people who are previous customers or clients, you can load that up as part of that creating a custom audience that we just had a look at, and you'll be able to target them and people like them with a lookalike audience. That might be the most successful way to do it. Your whole sales funnel may not be a Facebook sales funnel. In fact, if it's something so specific like aviation, your sales funnel may actually do better in something like LinkedIn, where people are a lot more sharing of what it is they do, the industry they're in, and it's very, very niche. Facebook needs a lot of numbers. It needs a lot of critical mass. So if you've got something like Megan, who's down below, said they manage socials for a vegan hair care range for families, that's something which could appeal to a very broad audience in a lot of places. Your audience in the aviation industry is probably going to be quite low. So what you want to do is be able to hyper target those people. LinkedIn is a really good way to do that. The LinkedIn marketing platform and what they call LinkedIn Sales Navigator are really good products to help you to be able to target job roles, industries, and the associated sectors beside them. Facebook will do that. The problem is that a lot of us on Facebook don't actually put our job role in there. So Facebook's algorithm has to kind of try and work out what it is we do in some way of tracking what we do and what our interests are and things we tend to click on. LinkedIn's very good at that. So I would say probably Facebook may not be the place for you to do the best stuff for such a very niche industry, but something like LinkedIn would be. And it might be worth taking a look at not necessarily some of the I know some of the other ASBAS Digital Solutions webinars are around LinkedIn organic growth. What you probably need to do is get a very specific one all about LinkedIn ads and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I'm hopefully put one of those together for you in January, so you'll actually have a look. But take an explore of what the LinkedIn marketing solutions are and what the Sales Navigator are for yourself. And if you want to sort of hang around for a bit more of a walk through what that is, either use a one-to-one ASBAS Digital Solutions appointment with someone who can do that, like myself, or wait till January and I'll actually do a LinkedIn paid marketing webinar as well, which will be another one of these free ones in January, right when you want to learn all about stuff in January, isn't it? Still recovering from Christmas overeating. And we have one here from Megan, who was saying that she works in managing the socials for an eco-friendly vegan hair care range for families. There's a lot of words in there, Megan. It's cool. Now, the beauty of that is that you know exactly the kind of people you're after. So your first step of it would be to educate people on the advantages of using something that's eco-friendly and vegan in the hair care range. And that could be, say, something you never know the chemicals that are in your hair care range, and it might be damaging your hair or causing you to have hair loss or the split ends or whatever the different things are. That will be a way of educating people that there are products out there that do this. We're not necessarily pointing to our product yet. We're just educating you that this is an option that's out there. Now, in a post-COVID world where things like organic products, vegan products, very niche, very sustainable products have taken an absolute hammering as people have been stockpiling cheap stuff as much as they can, you're up for a challenge. That means you have to go a little bit further than just saying, here, buy our products because we know you're interested in vegan stuff. It's more about going, we need to get a lot more people that are outside of the vegan community and get people more interested in the fact that they are looking after themselves, their bodies and their hair by looking at these things. So your first thing could be just almost an inspirational video, I guess, of the benefits of hair care that's eco-friendly and vegan. And you can lead off to a website where you can find out more about those benefits and why it's important to go down that path. Then your second one will be retargeting people who viewed at least 15 seconds of that video. So make your video about a minute long. Not everyone's going to watch it right through. The most interested people will. But if you can get people who at least have gone for 15 seconds, and that's in Facebook world called through play, at THRU play, then you'll be able to capture the people who are most interested straight away and form a target for them. Now, you might want to go a little bit further and book a lookalike audience of the people who are the biggest viewers of your video as well. So not just the people who did view it, but the people who are most like them as well, if you find that your target audience is a little bit too small. And your final step could be retargeting those people who visited your website on a certain page, which could be a product page. So not the information landing page about why vegan cosmetic products and hair care range is so important. It'll be the people who landed on a specific shampoo. You can retarget them with something which is, hey, we know you love our products. We want to offer you a 10% gift voucher, or just give them that final push. You don't have to incentivize people to buy your stuff all the time. You can just say, we're running out of stock, and here's an opportunity to buy this now and get it. Or it could be a delivery promise, like we'll get it into you before Christmas, before Valentine's Day, before Mother's Day, before X time. So you can actually say, or it could be, we'll ship it today if you buy it now, or we'll ship it tomorrow if you buy it now. So those sort of incentives for action are just as important as an incentive that's a cash incentive or a discount incentive. So that was a very, very broad overall view of what Facebook and Instagram sales funnel can look like. It's working within that awareness stage where people don't really know who you are. That's an ad. Then your second ad will be something which is in those stage where people have either had an action that you can retarget, or you're looking for people who are already down that path. That can be your second ad. And your final ad will be something that's people are very aware of what you do. They know what you're doing. They're even considering buying from you, but you want to give them an incentive to be able to step over and click that buy now button. Now, your whole funnel could be far more complex than just 3 ads. Quite often when I'm dealing with small businesses, we could have 15 different ads all running at different stages of that customer journey, retargeting people who've done specific things at specific times. Now, this might not be a sole trader who's just a single person doing their own thing. They're usually businesses that have